What's up everyone, Kinetic Coach Dan here, and today we're going to take a look at Pro Kettlebells and their fantastically designed, innovative and ergonomic kettlebells. Now, I've never been a really big kettlebell guy. It's just something that I never got around to as far as training it repeatedly enough to develop the necessary skills to do some of the more complex movements. I totally understand the value to a kettlebell and I'm beginning to appreciate that more. And one of the main aspects of kettlebells was always the front rack position being relatively uncomfortable, and doing anything that involved getting into that position with speed and power was often quite uncomfortable. And luckily our friends at Pro Kettlebell have done a great job of changing that with this ergonomic design, and we'll get in close on that in just a second. But what I also always had a problem with when it comes to kettlebells is just sheerly the amount of them you need to be able to outfit all the different weights that are available. And they've also solved that, having these weight pods available that are magnetic and fit perfectly into this opening and well inside of the kettlebell, with a convenient little strap to help you pull it back out. So this is more than strong enough to magnetically attach to the inside so you can do all of those movements. And because I've got two separate Pro Kettlebells here, a 12 kilogram and a 24 kilogram, and my added weight pod is a, 2 kilogram weight pod, that gives me essentially 4 different weights on my kettlebells. So Pro Kettlebells has done a fantastic job of creating a design that solves a major barrier of entry for a lot of people when it comes to kettlebells overall. One of those limiting factors being that they just don't want to buy a whole bunch of them, and they feel like they're not going to get a whole lot out of a really light one, so they can only do some of their heavier exercises with it, and then that's about all they can do. Then they have to move over to something else like their dumbbells. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at the Pro Kettlebell here so you can actually see the designs and why it is this is such an effective design for allowing you to get into these positions. And you can actually see the inner well here really quickly. Let's check it out. So as I had mentioned, you have better ergonomics. The normal roundness of a kettlebell makes it so that when you go to do any kind of clean or snatching motion and that thing swings up, if you don't have the timing and placement just right of your hand, the bulbous end of the kettlebell here is going to end up whacking you on the top of the wrist. People end up with all kinds of bruising and really beat up wrists. Sometimes even major injuries occur because of stuff like that. So they solved that by creating this positioning that allows you to essentially rest your hand in, and it actually guides you into a much better and more intuitive position. From a coaching perspective, this is actually really great because you almost naturally have to fall into that position if you want to do this correctly. So for me, someone who's not really trained a whole lot of kettlebells, this was a great way of forcing me to figure out how to get into that position quickly and efficiently. And if you hit this edge here and do it the wrong way, it's going to tell you pretty quick. I actually don't have a problem with that, and I'm learning to appreciate some of the finer points of kettlebelling. So to look at the inside of the actual Pro Kettlebell here, again, we can see this open well here, and I've got my 2 kilogram weight pod with the strap that's going to allow me to easily place that in. I can do all kinds of swings with these things. I can do different kinds of gripping exercises, which is why another reason I love this open well here. I actually wish that they would add some kind of like a magnetic handle that would turn this into a center loaded dumbbell type situation as well, but that's neither here nor there. This is a fantastic design to allow me to essentially have 2 different weights in one kettlebell. If I have the adjustable weight, you can't go wrong with adjustable weight, especially when it comes to garage gym settings or limited studio gym type settings. So the Pro Kettlebell has done a fantastic job of taking some of the barriers of entry when it comes to just sheer design that will help to overcome the skill necessary to wield a kettlebell. So for me, one of the main reasons I never really got into kettlebelling was, again, Number one, I never had really a great teacher. The only person that I watched a lot of early in my career was Steve Cotter, and he's actually a big fan of Pro Kettlebells here. But you can see that it intuitively tells me to sit my forearm in that position and get racked across that edge where I can very comfortably get into the blade of my hand, that lateral edge, stabilize, and drive into these positions where the kettlebell is resting safely across my forearm in that groove. I can come down and I can feel that control throughout the motion. So, like I said, these guys have done a fantastic job of taking the very basic design of the kettlebell and just making some minor improvements. Keep it simple, stupid. You can't go wrong with making small adjustments that are big and impactful on the coaching experience, on the training and the learning experience. And that's exactly what they've done here to make this a much more intuitive training experience. And I'm just really learning to appreciate the value of taking one training tool, which I always have appreciated, and really drilling it from a mental perspective, what you can do to instantly transition from one exercise to the next using nothing but a kettlebell and just absolutely pummeling your body into oblivion in the process, training it to be conditioned for chaos. That's kind of what I'm all about. And one of the things that I love about it is that this really forces you to get creative, and you can actually do some really special stuff when it comes to this open well here. And you gotta love the fact that it's gonna challenge your grip when you do that. So, all that being said, make sure to follow Pro Kettlebell on Instagram. Head over to prokettlebell.com. They have all kinds of amazing educational videos available, instructional certifications, what have you. They're a great team over there. They've been super helpful with me and just educating me on some of the finer points of what need to be done to make my kettlebell experience more efficient and make me a better coach ultimately. And I'm fine with that. I have no ego about taking the time to learn to do something properly and then coach it properly as we continue to move forward. So make sure to head over to prokettlebell.com, use discount code Kinetic to order it. I'll see you in the gym, y'all. Live kinetically.